As always, let's kick off this list with recommendations from you guys. Starting with Pedro and Area 51. As a soldier, we are sent in to investigate strange occurrences in the name-giving secret facility. We stumble upon a conspiracy that threatens the whole universe. This game is an absolute fever dream of conspiracy and sci-fi tropes that surprisingly meshes really well. Alien invasion style shooters are rare gems these days, and Area 51 on the PlayStation 2 definitely fills this niche. Our second recommendation comes from Tumo Fiji with Vampire Knight, one of my favorite light gun shooters on the PlayStation 2 and an absolute blast to play. We enter a castle and its creepy surroundings with one goal only: blasting every bloodsucker off the screen. This is the perfect game to play right before Halloween, since you can easily complete it in one sitting and with a friend in couch co-op. If you want to know more about the game, make sure to check out my first PlayStation 2 Hidden Gems video. Hey you guys, how are you doing? The PlayStation 2 set the standard for creepy games so freaking high that modern games are still struggling to keep up. So today we are taking a deep dive into the darkest corners of the PS2 library to find some hidden gems. And you guys know the drill. Grab yourself some pizza, kick back and make yourself comfortable, and let's get the kick out of gaming. Let's kick off this list with a PlayStation 2 exclusive, Altered Beast. Based on a 2D side-scrolling beat-em-up, this PS2 remake of Altered Beast has nothing to do with ancient Greece. Instead, it's set in modern day and we play as Luke Costa, who is sent to investigate a small town that has been plagued by the genome mist, which turns people into freaking monsters. Good thing is we can transform into different beasts in order to fight those creepy goons. The game's story is a bit simple but does the job, and the voice acting is peak PlayStation 2 cheesy. But the gameplay is where it's at. It's simple and visceral, and gets you really pumped to rip and tear through hordes of mutated goons. There are two different ways to do that. As a human, we can kick and punch mutants to collect spirit energy. Once this meter is filled up, the fun starts and we can turn into a beast. While in creature form, we consume the spirit energy constantly, and if it runs out, you will have to transform back into human form. So the gameplay loop revolves around this human and beast dynamic and trying to balance it. As the game progresses, the combat system introduces some light RPG elements, and this being Altered Beast, you get the ability to turn into all sorts of different creatures, including a minotaur, a merman, and a bird-type thingy, each with their own special moves. The main character controls a bit tanky, but once you unlock a few transformations, the gameplay opens up and gives you a lot more variety. And despite its minor flaws, Altered Beast is a game that is hard to put down. This is an absolute banger of a game and I'm digging it out every Halloween. This is one of my favorite guilty pleasure horror games. Like the next game on this list, Twin Caliber. And if you haven't guessed it already, I love horrible cheesy arcade action games, and Twin Caliber is exactly that, a twin stick zombie shooter with non-stop action. We play as two unlikely partners, the badass sheriff and a low-life prisoner who have to fight together to survive a low-poly zombie outbreak. Played in either single player or co-op, we blaze our way through a mysterious town trying to uncover the secrets of an evil cult. The gameplay is pretty straightforward. While our characters are moving on autopilot through the levels, all we have to do is aim our two weapons with the two joysticks and pull the trigger. And I highly recommend blazing through this game with a couch co-op partner to get the kick out of Twin Caliber. But perhaps the best thing about Twin Caliber is the over-the-top gore and slow-mo. This game is full of graphic violence, including exploding heads and limbs. All that while some of the coolest techno music is playing. If you're looking for a fun shoot 'em up to pass some time, with or without the aid of a friend, then this is the perfect Halloween game for you. Just be prepared to give your trigger fingers a good warm up before blasting your way through this gem. And after that we continue on with Michigan, Report from Hell. The story of this game revolves around a news crew dedicated to paranormal events. After the city of Chicago is engulfed by mysterious fog, people are turning into hideous mutants and all hell breaks loose. We play as the cameraman who is sent to film the events and perhaps discover the cause of everything. We are following different female reporters around, and the whole gameplay thrill comes from the unnerving balancing act between getting as much spectacular and dangerous footage as possible filmed without actually getting someone harmed. During gameplay, we'll be faced with a series of morality decisions, where you're given a choice to stop filming and save someone's life, or continue filming for some horrific footage which will boost our ratings. If we let one of our reporters die, then a new reporter has to take their place. They all look different and have different names and personalities. So depending on who lives and who dies, we can experience different events, explore new areas and hear distinct dialogue on multiple playthroughs. But one of the best things about Michigan Report from Hell is the voice acting. The voice actors deliver their lines so freaking badly, it's almost like they're trying to be funny. It's full of cliches and nonsensical statements. Michigan is a rare gem, and while it's trashy, it's still a very unique experience, since there really is nothing else even remotely like it. Overall, this is an overpriced cult classic, and it's worth checking out if you like so bad it's good video games and cheesy horror flicks. A description that the next game on this list would fit as well: Curse, the Eye of the Isis. The plot of this game kicks right into gear with a mysterious thief breaking into a museum to steal the titular Eye of the Isis. The dude is just a bit clumsy and breaks it, and the curse is released, waking up mummies and locking all the doors. By accident, it just happens that we stumble into the same museum at the same time, and things go haywire from there on out. I have to say, I did really enjoy the old school Victorian England horror style story. We have a hero with a mysterious past, a gutsy female counterpart as the second main character, and a small but fine collection of bad guys and creepy monsters. Every location we visit is shadowy and eerie, with a tremendous atmosphere for such an old PS2 title, with echoing footsteps and melodramatic voice acting contributing even more chills to the haunted corridors. With echoing footsteps and melodramatic voice acting. On top of that, Curse Eye of the Isis features pretty forgiving enemy design and enough health items and ammunition around to keep you well equipped. Also, there is a very cool feature where we can target various body parts of our enemies for additional damage. As with most of the PS2 era survival horror games, the controls are a bit jank and the camera perspective is not always the best. But on the positive side, this game has freaking mummies and a flamethrower. So long story short, Curse Eye of the Isis is a pretty fun game. It's scary, atmospheric, and it's an action horror adventure game that kind of went under the radar. So make sure to give it a try. The next game on this list takes Hidden Gem to a whole new level. Shadow Tower Abyss, the English patched version. Like every other PS2 Hidden Gems video of mine, I had to include a Japanese exclusive game that got an English fan translation. And more importantly, Shadow Tower Abyss is made by the Dark Souls developer. It's like a wild fever dream came to life. The story is set in modern day and it starts like this. We make our way through the woods and enter an ancient sacred place where we stumble headfirst into an unfriendly parallel dimension. As we fight our way through, we learn that to get out of here, we have to find a magical spear and kill a ton of weird creatures along the way. And here comes the twist. We brought some serious firepower and can blast most low-level monsters with ease. But if you think this will be a walk in the park, you forgot that you're playing a From Software game. The gameplay is pretty punishing at times and you have to get a good feel for the game, and its many traps and cheap deaths. Also, the gameplay is very slow paced and has some survival horror and resource management mechanics as well. But to make the combat more fun, there is a pretty cool dismemberment system, so you can target different body parts and blast those goons to pieces. While Shadow Tower Abyss isn't a straight up horror game, it hits those eerie and creepy vibes just right. The levels are huge and come with different challenges. There is no hand holding, so exploring is part rewarding and part frightening at the same time. I'm currently playing it and I have not completed it yet, but after my first 6 hours I have to say it clearly makes you want to get good, and that's a compliment. So if you're down for a really challenging game and want to smoke some horrible goons, then check out this Japanese exclusive PlayStation 2 hidden gem. Next up, we have a PS2 game that you can pick up around the world, The Thing. The Thing is a survival horror game based on one of the best horror movies of all time. And we continue right where the film left off, in a remote and Arctic research station where a team of soldiers is terrorized by The Thing, a shape-shifting alien creature. And we play as the new guy entering the site, but we don't know who we can trust, and this is where the gameplay twist kicks in. The alien creature can mimic the appearance of any human, so it could be anyone in our group. It's a game of paranoia and distrust, and this is what makes The Thing so fun to play. We constantly second guessing our NPC friends, and you never know when somebody might turn on you. And once he turns, we have to take him down like a video that violates the terms of service. This game also does a great job at capturing the atmosphere of the movie. The Antarctic Research Station is a cold and desolate place, and the game's graphics and sound design really help to create a sense of dread and suspense. However, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. The combat can be a bit clunky at times, but overall, The Thing is a solid survival horror game, so if you're looking for a game that will give you a good scare and make you second guess everything you know, then this is The Thing. Next up, we have another obscure PlayStation 2 title called Obscure. In this survival horror gem, we follow a group of teenagers as they investigate a mysterious outbreak at their high school. We can play as 2 characters at any given time and either do this in co-op or single player. So if you play it in single player, then you can instantly switch control between each character at the press of a button. And the AI for the other character is actually surprisingly good. They follow you around and help you fight without wasting too much ammo. As for the gameplay, it's mostly the standard classic style fixed camera survival horror. We explore, look for items, solve some small puzzles and either fight or flee from monsters. But this is what makes it fun, and Obscure is a blast to play. It's a game that is incredibly campy and self-aware. The teenagers that we play as are the typical stereotypes, but they are also surprisingly likable. And the story is full of twists and turns, and it's never quite what we expect. And there is a nice little gameplay twist here too. If both of our current characters die, then instead of a game over, the gameplay continues from the perspective of the other surviving characters. So we decide who the main characters are and who survives this adventure. If that's too much pressure, then the save system helps us take off some heat. We find CD-ROMs every now and then, and each one of these CD-ROMs allows us to save once almost everywhere. So this is the perfect balance between a proper save system and the suspenseful limited saves found in other survival horror games. All in all, Obscure on the PlayStation 2 is an amazing classic survival horror game in the style of a corny teen horror movie. The next game on this list isn't as lighthearted, so you have to endure The Suffering. The Suffering failed survival horror and instead became an action horror classic. With its dark and disturbing atmosphere, gruesome violence and twisted story. One of the best things about The Suffering is its unique setting. We play as Torque, a prisoner on death row who is accused of murdering his family, but we don't remember what happened. Then suddenly an earthquake hits and releases a horde of demonic creatures. I mean, we've all been there. Now it's our turn to fight our way through the prison and escape the island, all while trying to figure out what really happened to our family. And this brings in a great gameplay mechanic. If we're playing as the good guy, helping dudes and doing good deeds, we'll get the quote-unquote good ending, but if we run wild, then I guess Torque tested his fighting skills on his family before coming to prison. I did really like the dark and gritty storyline, and the moral choices did add to that. Also, I have to mention that the demonic creatures that we fight are all incredibly grotesque and represent a certain style of execution, which was a really neat idea that added to the overall theme of the game. Most of the gameplay is pretty straightforward, with a bit of slashing and a ton of shooting, and if this meter fills up, then it's monster time, or this game's form of the well-known temporary overpowered state where we deal even more damage to those evil goons. Overall, The Suffering is one of the best action horror games ever made. If you're a fan of dark and disturbing horror games, then you definitely need to check it out. The next game on this list is another overlooked and underrated gem, Evil Dead Regeneration. Evil Dead Regeneration is a movie tie-in game done right. It's a campy, over-the-top game that's full of cheesy dialogue, bad acting and hilarious gore. We play as the legend himself, Ash Williams, the chainsaw-wielding, smack-talking anti-hero. After the events of the second movie, we are convicted of murder and are thrown into an asylum for the criminally insane. Coincidentally, in the basement of this asylum, a crazy doctor is carrying out all kinds of morbid experiments with the Necronomicon. Eventually, all hell breaks loose, and once again we are stopping a demon plague from overrunning the world. So we have to travel to different locations, solve some light puzzles and kill a ton of demon goons with a nice arsenal of trustworthy weapons. Like every PS2 action horror game, we can also get a bit freaky if we fill up this second meter up here. But we don't have to go on this adventure alone. And that's where our sidekick and second playable character comes in, Sam. Sam is a half-human, half-deadite dwarf that can't die, so we can kick him around at enemies or in areas we can't reach. This adds a lot of gameplay variety. Plus, there is a strong sense of black humor combined with some great character banter. The game's combat overall is pretty simple but satisfying. All in all, Evil Dead Regeneration is a great game that continues the lore of the Evil Dead movies and tells an engaging story with fun characters. It captures the spirit of those movies perfectly, and it's a must play for any Evil Dead fan. And now we've reached the final spot on this list, and one of the most underrated action horror games on the PlayStation 2, Blood Omen 2. The story of Blood Omen 2 kicks off with an epic gamer fail. As the vampire lord Cain, we try to conquer the fantasy world of Nosgoth with our vampiric army, but we are defeated by a mysterious knight. Cain's army is destroyed, and after a short 2 centuries of coma, we wake up to a world in shambles. We remember very little and are lacking much of our former power. And this is where the game kicks off, and it's time to hack and slash our way to the top of the vampire world again. Cain is one of the greatest vampires of all time, but he's also a complete jerk. He is constantly insulting everyone and making snide remarks. This is one of the few games where playing as the bad guy is an absolute blast. And like every vampire, we have to regain lost health by draining the blood of our downed enemies or civilians. We are also able to attain several weapons from our enemies. On top of that, we unlock so-called dark gifts, vampiric superpowers, as we progress the story. And like most Blood Omen games, the dark and gothic atmosphere is just freaking epic. And the voice acting is top notch, so sneaking through the dark alleys and rooftops of a rundown town full of vampires and other creatures of the night and watching Cain go on a rampage is a freaking blast. I highly recommend this game because I absolutely enjoyed this trashy fantasy adventure. And that's it, my dudes. These are some of my favorite hidden horror gems on PlayStation 2. Let me know which creepy game did I miss in the comments down below. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, kick the like button, sharing is caring, and subscribe. But most importantly, have a great day and get the kick out of gaming.
Hello? I hate to interrupt your beauty sleep, lady. Yeesh. But let's not kid ourselves. You need a few million more winks to make a dent in that grill.